just from a social like connection standpoint, you start to perceive, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, that you're on the outside of this tribe and you're at risk of being removed from this tribe, which is heightening this overall stress level and the stress response, which makes it nearly impossible for two teammates to collaborate. And the way I like to think about it is I'm a huge basketball fan, and I think about the LA Lakers, and it's like, it would be totally insane if the goal was to win the game, but going into that game, you went to LeBron James and said, "Hey, LeBron, you have to get 26 points today. Anthony Davis, you have to get 20 points today, and Caldwell Pope or whoever, Kuzma, like you have to each get 15." And when that game is winding down and you're getting into crunch time, if one of those players doesn't have their point totals, they are not going to be cooperating. They're not going to be making the decisions in the best interest of the team, whether it's to pass the ball, to double team, to cover the other person. And that's where that performance model breaks down. It's like, we built these sales organizations with every single person having their own unique target, when it's like, how on earth are they going to cooperate? Like it just physically will not happen because of all these factors at play.
That's a huge point. That's really well articulated and great example with the NBA. I think a lot of sales leaders are dealing with that problem and dealing with that frustration. How do you create truly a collaborative teamwork environment when everybody's being individually rewarded? I mean, you're going to create naturally a more competitive environment. So they tend to hire, people who are more competitive and, just kind of, I guess, deal with the chaos that ensues. I think a lot of times sales VPs are dealing with that chaos. And I think it's one of the reasons why the job is so tough. Like sales VPs, that's a tough job,
Yeah.
And because they've set a structure up where they're trying to create teamwork and collaboration when that's not really incentivized. In fact, the opposite is kind of incentivized.
Yeah, the opposite is incentivized. But I think kind of one of the biggest takeaways I would have or recommendations is, I don't know if a VP of sales role is as hard, because if you are working as a VP of sales and the only thing in your toolkit is, how do I incentivize people with more rewards, whether it's an incentive structure, whether it's kind of a bonus, whether it's like a team giveaway, like the only thing that you're thinking about is an ineffective solution. And you're going to have to keep providing more and more rewards if you want them to keep performing, which is a very frustrating situation. And it's way easier for someone to say, I'm going to give you a piece of candy for doing this, versus actually doing the hard work and asking the tough question, and going to the people at the front line, managers, going to the VP sales, going to the individual contributors and saying, hey, like, why aren't you motivated? Like, what's going on here? Like, what's the real problem? And I think that's the biggest thing that I took away from this is, you need to start asking why, and to start uncovering what the real root of underperformance is, versus just saying they're underperforming, here's a reward to get going again. It's way harder to do, to ask that question why, which is why kind of what I talk about, mental health, psychological safety, all of these things are so important. So when you go to do that digging to it and analyze the problem, you actually find the issues that are impacting performance, rather than people kind of hiding how they're feeling.
Yeah. Simple enough, right?
Yeah.